Damn.
Don't you think, would you like, or would you care if a mixed race person was advocating for racism on your behalf?
I wouldn't care.
How would you feel?
I
Because I saw somebody say that they wouldn't feel okay with a mixed race person advocating for racism because they don't feel like they get the same type of racism abuse as a dark skinned
I'm so sorry.
And I felt like that was kind of bad because that's why the white people were putting the mixed race people as house niggas while us black people are in the fields. That's how you're thinking as them. You feel like they don't have the same type of racism as you because they're lighter than you. Yeah, basically. And I think that's wrong.
Yeah, I want to say this now. Yeah, like in any fight, you need the people that are oppressed or directly related to the fight. And you need allies. Any war you've seen, nothing won. There's been the people who are affected and the allies. So as a white person, clearly an ally. As a mixed race person, have they gone through racism? They probably have because unfortunately they're like no one knows who they are. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So it's like they're also an ally, but also like people start as oppressed.
I mean, I feel like when white people see a mixed race person, they will classify them as black. Unless
of
you
course.
look like that guy, what's his name? And he
Jack
was on
Fowler.
unless you look like Jack Fowler, who looks he's mixed race, but he's I would think he's a white person. I'm not gonna lie. I thought he was.
I don't know if he's just because he looks a certain
No, I know. He's mixed race, yeah, point black. He's got black in him, but I didn't know that before
exactly,
until
by
he
looking
made
at him,
it
you
clear.
won't know.
Do you know what I mean? I can't tell. I knew he had some type of black of it in him, but I didn't know he was actually mixed race.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was actually 50% black. And he looks like he's got just a bit of black in him. Does that make sense?
Bit, literally.
But I
doesn't mean he doesn't experience the same thing we do. I mean,
but I think back onto your point as well. There's something really important I want to talk about. Is like obviously the one area I think we kind of concluded that like the area you're from does definitely affect your mindset, definitely affect.
Let me put onto that. But then within that, I feel like your social group as well.
Yeah, but again, it's from where you're from because if everyone you're from ends, there's a certain mindset, and unless your friends have travelled out and experienced certain things, they're not gonna bring that back to them. And also for me as well, I'll be real. Like I've been in activism probably for the best part, probably like 2 years, I'd say. A year or 2 years, can't remember. But it's like, I was a bit nervous to bring back to Mandem. Like, I wouldn't bring back what I learned to Mandem because it's like, that's not what we talked about. That's not what the group chat was about. The group chat was about other things. You see what I'm trying to say? And it was until like, maybe recently, that I felt a bit more comfortable to be like, yeah, Mandem, this is what I'm doing, this one. And they're like, oh shit, that's sick, oh shit. And it's not the group chat, my friends in general, because none of us grew up with being passionate for about that race thing.
but did they make you feel uncomfortable? Or was it you that didn't feel comfortable to say it?
It was more so that they didn't really care. It was mad. I'll tell them and they'll be like, oh, mad. Anyway.
That's the thing. It's one thing telling people, but it's caring. That's what plays a big part.
Whereas now, man, I'm like, oh, say swear. Sam, that's sick. Like, you get what I'm trying to say? And I think that's not about me. But one thing I'm talking about as well, it's a big topic. Because there's an article which is like, black children not the privilege of white children by like Nazar Ayub, and that article is so sick because what it talks about like how some black kids don't get to be kids from a young age. Like 100%. I'm sure we all, for me personally, I remember my young age, my pops telling me, son, listen, you're British, you got the passport, but it's you is black. Be careful. See what I'm saying? And I think we can all relate to that.
100%.
But what white kid do you know has gone through that? Like what white kid do you know has had to grow up conscious of the fact from a young age that like
the other races in competition,
like, and not even competition. That's a great example. Competition, or like they may say certain things to you because you're black.
I feel like
do you know how mad that is from a young age?
I feel like within that as well, there's major differences with growing up as well. I feel like not a lot of black kids been talking about tax. Not a lot of black kids been talking about what's it called, credit scores.
Only now recently,
but that's not a black. I don't think that's a race issue.
I think
that's more education.
I think it's
awareness.
I think it's 50-50. I agree with Hobz. I feel like more in the white family, if I'm not mistaken, because
in the white, I
feel like they talk about stuff like that. You know, tax.
Yeah, in a stable household, but that means that their income, the house income, is more than 80k.
Then you have to bring class into it.
I won't get 80k. I just feel like in a stable household, you're right. Like
you have that.
You have that.
I don't think so.
Whether you're black or white, because there are white families out there who are the same position as us.
Yeah.
Like there's I won't say their names because it's a bit rude, but there are people who are in the white community who have not
They
had
don't know about,
a single mum.
Yeah.
Mum don't care about them. Mum will always buy cigarettes, whatever. Like doesn't really care. They're in the same boat as us in terms of taxes and stuff.
But in that circumstances, then what we split that away from is that still somebody would pick them over a black person who might have made it, is in a better position.
What
with
in
them.
you mean in terms of
In terms of
career
Yeah,
wise?
into career wise as well. Yeah, in terms of career, because that's when white privilege comes into.
So listen,
do you know what I mean?
And it's actually true. And the reason why I say this is because I even know a person that even said that they're mixed race, but even things like, you know what was crazy and it hurt me is like even things like booking an appointment for the GP. When they say when he says his name, obviously because he's got his last name is white. Because some Jamaicans have white names, they say.
Because it's
obviously some, because of colonization, etc. So when you go to when you give his date of birth and his name, whatever, and then they ask him, "What race are you?" You say, "Oh, he's white." And then when he would get there, they realize he's a mixed race person. But he said that when he would say that he was white, he would actually get a privilege. They would want to see him there and then. But when he would say that he's black or he's mixed race, they literally put him on the bottom of the list. And that's when I realized that literally, like, our names, our names play a big part.
Yeah.
And
just our colour is literally such a big factor. But yeah, go on.
So I want to say two things on that point, because there's a personal example with the healthcare system and there's a personal example with the whole employee system. So my auntie has said it herself. She had the Nigerian name. When she had a Nigerian name, she wasn't getting no interviews. When she changed her name to a Portuguese name, because she has that privilege to do so, she got a lot more interviews. You get what I'm trying to say? That's number one. Number two, there's actually research done that shows, and this is a personal experience for mine, because that's how I kind of low-key lost my mum. But it's like NHS, and they when you're a black woman, you're perceived as strong. And
I was gonna go touch on that.
And they don't take your pain seriously, your condition seriously. It's just like, oh, it's all right, you'll be fine, whatever. But when it's a white person, like it's just like, oh, you're in pain? Oh, what's wrong? Like it's all of a sudden it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So just lastly, like I know somebody who for the past I think 2 to 3 years, like was saying that like I've got this issue. They've just been like, oh, you're fine, whatever, you're fine, whatever. It ended up finding out that she has got something quite severe with her. And it was until she came to London for a consultation that they said to her, yo, you need to get checked out because this might not be right.
Exactly.
So it just goes to show this research done on your point.
Just to add on that as well, like I saw a tweet of a girl who lived a bit outside of London, I would say, I think it was Kent maybe, and she was saying that she's like got sickle cell. I know when you have sickle cell, from what I know, you have loads of pains, like there's some type of pain, you can't handle. And she said how she was in so much pain, they give you a button and she was pressing it, saying how much pain she was in, and then the lady took the button away from her and said, you keep pressing this so much, and she said, yeah, I'm pressing it because I'm in so much pain, and she took the button away from her.
Evil, isn't it?
Isn't that so mad? Like, someone's telling you you're in pain, and you know you can never assess how much pain a person is in because you're not that person. You might think, oh, it's not so serious, but you don't have sickle cell. For you to take a button away from somebody, I find that very like,
especially a person of care, innit?
Yeah, it's like you have a duty of care to make sure that somebody is okay, and you taking away that button shows that you don't really care just because you feel like they're overdoing it.
And I feel like as well, this is where the conversation of racism comes into play, because we had a conversation before. Me and Rebel was just like, can black people be racist? See what I'm trying to say?
Right.
And when we talk about racism,
you asked me that.
Yeah, when we talk about racism, it's very interesting conversation, because people think that racism is purely on just a racial prejudice or racial discrimination. Oh, you're black, we hate you.
Yeah, I don't think black people can be racist. Not gonna lie though.
Again?
I don't think black people can be racist.
Yeah, so I
think we can discriminate, but I feel like racism is to do with a white person on a black person.
No.
In context.
Maybe
I'm wrong.
No. I need to add on that.
I said what I said.
No, but I need to add on that point. So the difference between racism itself is the process of using systematic oppression to benefit a race. Black people have never benefited of any sort of systematic oppression. If a white person goes to Africa, there's a saying in Ghana which is said, see a white person, you see a god. Let's deep that. There is a mindset many times, especially we've all been to Nigeria or our home countries, when they hear our British accent, they assume wealth and like richness. So even in Africa, or I'm sure in any black origin country, like the white man in some areas is viewed as a source of wealth, whether they're wealthy or not is not, and that is why racism exists. If a black person goes to a white country or of any race,
So do you think a black person can be racist?
they can't be racist. They can be racial. They can discriminate against a white person.
Yeah, we can discriminate. Yeah,
You said a saying there, but I know a saying that there's a saying that my mum also said that they'll say that black people were saying to black people in a particular country. So there was a particular country that will say kill a Congolese person and leave a snake. Would you not say that's kind of like racist though? Because they say you're preferring to kill your own people.
No, but that's not racist though, because you're killing your own kind.
Yeah.
But well, a snake can kill you as well, but you prefer to kill your own type of people and leave
but that's not racism, because racism is to do with
racism.
another type of race. Do you know what I mean? You killing your own people, that's just a crime on
That's
itself.
genocide.
They're not
That's
Congolese
fine.
though.
Oh, they're
So,
not.
They're
so-
not Congolese.
so who
There's
said-
a
So what's a
country.
snake?
There's a country that says we will prefer to kill a Congolese person
Than
than
their
to
own.
kill a snake. Like a snake, as in the animal
But
snake.
I feel like number one, what is that country, black or white?
The country's black.
So then that's not racist.
Yeah, that's not racism.
Because
though.
black
That's just a different country discriminating against another
Yeah, exactly.
country.
And we need to get it straight. There's discrimination within our community. That's why you got African versus Nigerian. That's
Wouldn't
why you
that go into colorism a bit if it's based on skin tone as well?
yeah,
How,
but I think that's
shades
another
are-
topic.
I think
I
think
feel like
racism.
I'm so sorry. But I feel like before this goes further, people need to educate themselves on what racism actually is.
What racism is,
Because
yeah,
there's discrimination, there's prejudice.
True, okay, it does
there's
come under discrimination.
There's prejudice, and there's racism. Like racism is not purely based on the oppression or hating someone because of their skin tone.
Yeah.
It's the systematic oppression of a skin tone. So a great example could be going for a job, like I said earlier, going for a job, and there's a white counterpart and a black counterpart, and for some reason there's already stereotypes. I've met people who have said that like when they see a black person, they do think drug dealer, they do think fraud star,
Especially when it comes to good things in life.
they do
But
think that.
But you know what? It's kind of crazy as well, because I feel like it's something that needs to definitely be educated a lot in black communities, especially black kids that are growing up now. Because I've come to find even little things like, because I didn't go straight into education like uni, for example, and I worked my way through things. Even things for like interviews. I remember I got interviewed by a black person, and she turned around and said, "You know what? I'm so shocked by your CV." And I said, "What do you mean by you're so shocked by my CV?" So
That's
no,
where
like,
it
you know, us
starts.
black people, we don't really tend. I was just like, I'm so sorry. I don't know about the reality that you live.
Exactly.
But don't cut me short. But she said, no, but you're very young as well. Because at the time I was 21 and I was going for just a normal job interview. But she's saying, because you've done such high things in life, because obviously aside from me working, I've also been like, I've led like events. I've, led homeless events. Like I've done a lot of like events
Community
and kind
stuff.
of leadership type things outside of me working. And it's so crazy that your own people will be the ones to say that they're shocked by it when they should be applauding you and telling you to kind of go forward with. So for me, the question that I want to ask is, do you think that a lot of the times, hi guys, I'll have to play devil's advocate here. Do you think that black people are killing black people themselves?
I just feel like the whole black on black killing is just something to do with racism. I think that's systematic. I would say. I think that whole thing isn't from us directly. I think it's come from people above and how we're oppressed. That's made us into doing black on black killing. I would say. Would you not agree?
So would you say that because of that? So do you think that the black people that didn't go protesting,
Yeah.
in a way,
Yeah.
they should have went protesting?
I feel like some people don't have to go protesting. As we said previously, there's parents who have high risk, who are high risk. If you don't protest, doesn't mean you can't do other things. Doesn't mean you can't donate. Doesn't mean you can't
So do you
sign
think it's like a
petitions.
must for black people
I
to go
don't think it's a
protesting?
must to protest. If you have the opportunity to protest, you should. But then there are other people who see a protest as a thing that you should do. They see that a protest is just something short term, not long term. But I think people should change their mindset and see that a protest is something you come together for, and you fight for a cause.
I don't know. Do you know what? There's something you said earlier that I think I got to talk about, which is that the black on black killings, and we have to recognize that. Like, I get this a lot from people at work. Do you get what I'm trying to say? That I'm the only black person, mostly at work sometimes. So I get this question a lot, and you got to understand this: the black on black killing is not to do with race; it's to do with your environmental. It's to do with where you're raised.
Yeah, but isn't the
If you're-
environment
if-
from how
if
the
you're-
hierarchy is, though, how people fund the system or not?
No. So like, it comes down to because there was a period where there's a high stabbing rate in Scotland, for example. See what I'm trying to say? Like, the killings and crime is to do with how well funded your environment is. If you come from an environment that's quite a poor background, there's more likely to be more drug drug-related incidents and stuff like that. It's not purely race. So the conditions that where there's higher black and black stabbings on, if you remove them people and put them like in Kensington or like in rich areas and put white people in there, it'll be the same thing. We put white one crime. No one, but the only thing is there's not as much media perception on that, and that's where media plays a big part. And that comes back to your question about the whole protesting thing. I feel like, in my personal opinion, if you like, let's be really realistic. If you can't go to a protest because of your health reasons, that is valid and that is fine. And I feel like I agree with you, I stand with you. But I feel like every black person that can should go to a protest, because number one, from my personal experience, the protesting in Bristol was life-changing. There's nothing that will compete to that. There's no amount of retweeting. There's no amount of, what I'm trying to say, or signing petitions that can relate to what I felt in that protest. Hearing those speeches, seeing that statue being pulled down. And let's bear in mind that statue being pulled down is now setting the trend, the bulldozing effect.
But I don't think people should feel bad if they can't
Don't
attend
feel bad.
protests,
Don't feel bad.
because-
Don't feel bad.
Because even though it was a good experience for you, and I know some people would like to experience that, not everyone can go to it for valid reasons.
For valid reasons,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I feel like if you don't go to the protest, do everything as much as you can outside.
Outside
But
of
that's
it.
what I
Exactly.
believe. I think if you're not going to the protest because you don't believe, because some people actually believe that protesting doesn't do anything.
Exactly.
It's annoying.
And I just
I
feel,
can
I think
disagree.
that's a
Let me- let me-
closed
let me-
mindset.
let me-
Can't lie.
It's the truth. Some people do feel like you're making noise in the street, but are we really going to be heard? It's the same way some people feel like, all right, cool. They tell us let's vote here in the UK.
Cool.
But is our vote really being matters?
It does though.
Cool.
That mindset
But-
is dangerous.
But that might obviously for me, it's like
The vigil.
Nah, I'm talking about what
The
we
vigil.
had.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's all preference. Because let me be honest, I didn't go to the protest in Bristol, but I'm telling you, I was
Why?
so
Why?
proud. Firstly, I didn't know about the protest. I'll be honest, I didn't know about the protest. And then secondly, when I did find out about the protest, it was already too late. But I was very proud because in Bristol, there's a lot of things that are named after the slave trade that happened.
masters.
Like we have things like Blackpool Hill, like
White Ladies Road.
White Ladies Road.
Why did they say
Like,
that?
That's the question. But obviously, if we talk into it, it was a whole different story. But it's all started from slave trading and the whole the Windrush. There's a lot of things that kind of go into
There's
it.
a lot of things that need to be updated, I would say, man.
Yeah, there
because
is.
there's so many things
but-
that's questionable. Why do we have slave traders or slave owners as statues
Statues.
in our community?
But
thing.
can I
Put
just
them
say-
in the
I
museum,
wanna say-
put
I
some
wanna
writing on
say
it.
two
Why
Don't
things.
put them in the museum because
No,
are you
I-
proud?
No,
I
but
wanna
I
say
feel
two
like they
things.
need to be
So
put in a museum so that we know why they are there.
I'll say
We
so.
know
Yeah.
what they did. I want to know who did so much bad things to the people who look like me.
But can I
though.
say
I want to
something?
know
I'm going to say
history.
two things here. Number one, on the Bristol statue, let it be known, because Nigel Farage is a prick, and I've said it on my chest. He called us terrorists. Now, if you know about Bristol, you know that for the past over 5-10 years, been to that rage, people have been campaigning for get that statue taken
Yes,
down.
100%.
But yet nobody's listened to us. And now, because you've done it through our own means, we're getting called terrorists, and I don't agree with that. And I feel like, also back onto your point, so you come in as well, bro, is the fact of like, people say protesting is not an effective means. I believe that it is, and it starts to change. However, there's a situation that H can talk about now, which kind of, I understand where people are coming from. So H, what are you going to say about the story?
I was gonna say, what's it called? So there's a video that there was someone that was 16, someone that was 31 or 32, and there's someone that was at 46. So the person that was 46, he was vexing it at the protest. He was in America. He was like, bro, I've been doing this for how many years? 30 years, and we're still here. I'm protesting again. The other guy that was 30 said the exact same thing. So they're looking at the 16-year-olds like, bro, you got to do something that's different to this, protesting it in the way. So I've posted that video over to him, and then he was like, he disagrees at this moment of time due to the fact that the protest that we're in is different to whatever other protest we're in. We're in a pandemic. The whole world's doing a protest. And like everyone's standing up for Black Lives Matter, which is very nice, isn't it? So then I was just like, you've got a point. I ain't seen a protest on this volatile where
Nationally, worldwide,
where
100%.
everyone's jumping in. So in that sense, when he's explaining that part, I was just like, you got a point. I guess protests do matter in a sense that it does change. I'm not gonna lie, without the Bristol statue coming down, there's no way Leopold in Belgium was coming down.
Something. It's a very big thing, especially coming from a Congolese
background
background.
is mad.
And it was weird. It was the crazy thing is I spoke to my dad on that day, and he was like, "Yeah, we're going to protest," but my dad's 51, and he's like, "Yeah, we're going to protest because imagine I live in that city, and every day I'm reminded that this is the reason." Yeah, he lives in Belgium, so he lives in that country. Sorry, city, he lives in that country, and every day he's reminded that this is the reason why there's many suffering in his country, and the fact that it took a very, let's say, a small city, is Bristol City.
Yeah.
A small city like Bristol that has such a big influence.
But it's not a
on the
small
world.
city though.
It's not a small city, but I'm saying compared to like London, it is a very small city. Compared to London, like, come on, London's got billions. Like compared to
I said billions.
Continue.
Millions.
Carry on.
Millions. But yeah, compared to a city
I
like
said racks. Nah, you're waved.
Continue.
anyways, guys, we're gonna forget that.
Carry on.
But yeah, compared to a city like a country like Belgium that had, you know, there's like, you know what, we need to kick down that country, because even now, like, the stuff that goes on in Congo, anyway, this conversation for another day, it's crazy. Like, we go through things that a lot of countries have kind of like, you know, they've kind of left behind, but we're still kind of going through it. Things like civil war, like we're still facing that until this day, and there's not been changed.
And that's
never been
influenced by the Western community, by the way.
And it was influenced by young black people
By the Western community
in Bristol that said, you know what, today we are gonna stand, and today we're going to make
sorry, wasn't. Get it right. It was everyone. It was white people involved.
Yeah,
it was a community.
Who planned it?
I don't know.
Okay.
From my experience when I was there, we were all shocked. Like, all we just see a white man's on there, black girls on there.
Oh, true. And there was many people.
And she just trend what's on there. We're thinking, rah, nah, they're joking.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, blood, whoop, done. Yeah.
It was a big statement, and even though they're going to fish the statue out of the water,
dickheads.
but it shows that there's a power, because the thing is with me, I've personally always thought
that's some type of bondage, man.
I've always kind of seen it like that. But to see the change that is motivated me. We sat at home, we seen it down, my cousins, and we literally said, hey, we are going to protest, regardless of how we feel. Even if we're ill, we're going to protest because something is bringing change. And if that change is coming, we want to be a part of it.
Do you know why some people are scared to protest as well? It's because of how the police are handling it as well.
100%.
Because can't like you know, because I seen a couple of videos when I seen that the police, they're doing, I think it's called kettling or kettlebell.
Kettle.
The kettle thing. So when basically
educate us, Ebony.
Right, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm not wrong, right, Google's your friend as well, you can go check. But
Googles.
But basically, so when you go to the protest, if they see that there's been a bit of violence happening there, they will now surround you, and you won't even notice until they start to close in on you. So that's basically kettling. So they close in on you, they will keep you there. The girl was saying that they kept them there for hours without food, without letting them go to the toilet.
In the UK or
in the UK. In the UK, guys.
They do it at block parties.
Well, they kept you in without giving food or anything, and then they went home late, but they would take a picture of them, and then they would take their name, and they would tell them, if we see you here at the next protest, we'll get you arrested. That's another thing why people are scared to go protest, because they're scared of getting arrested. Do you know what I mean? I'm scared of getting arrested. The fuck, I've never been arrested before. Now I'm gonna be arrested at a protest where I'm trying to fight for my rights. Like, do you know what I mean?
So you know how we're saying that, like, obviously not everyone can protest and stuff like that. It's just like, what are we saying we can do to help the black community then? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, what I feel like we should go around in a circle, and like just say what we feel like we need to do.
Well, one, I think education. Do you know what's crazy? My dad used to scream, "Education is important. Education is important. Education." And I used to think we all got that. Yeah, we heard it before. But education is very important. So it's little things like educating the people that you're surrounded by, educating your family, educating the younger ones that are growing up. My main thing is also education. And don't be afraid to step out of your comfort shell to do something that is new. Something that seems like it's not normal to people, to everyone. But listen, I'm telling you, just that normal thing that you don't think is normal is something. So I think definitely stepping out of your shell and promoting. So like, we're gonna attach like different organizations that we know in Bristol, in London, everywhere around the world, that have kind of raising awareness of the issues that is going on in the world, so that people can check it out and be involved in and subscribe. But honestly, that's something that could add to the table to what we're going through right now. So that's what I would advise.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like for me personally, it's about empowering and like activism. I feel like as a community, we need to recognize the power we have. I feel like let's not let the system define us. Let's define ourselves as a community.
Preach.
Let's define ourselves.
Right.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? And that don't mean that. I know it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. I know there's many situations that like I can't even relate to. However, there's a lot of things that like I have overcome, and I believe there's people in my position that can overcome as well. Yeah. And I feel like I want to give a big shout out to shopblack.uk to their website that lets you know what black funded businesses are in your area. Right, so for that reason, I feel like man, empower yourselves. You can do it. I can do it. We can do it. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I would say reading.
Yeah.
I would say education. Do you know what I mean? Education, reading is good thing. Like, if you don't feel like, I feel like sometimes when people say they don't feel like they can speak on black stuff or because they don't know what to say, it's because you lack a bit of knowledge. So maybe if you start reading, you start educating yourself, you start to understand how you should feel, how you should articulate yourself. I would say, for example, there's a book that I bought recently. It said Why I Won't Be Speaking on Racism with White People, I think. So I think that's a book I've newly bought, so I can't really give you an insight on it yet, but I think that's something you should read. And I think also maybe, you know, joining petitions, reading the petition, understanding why this is something that black people are fighting for, and, you know, signing for it and just spreading the word, keep the conversation going. I think that is something that we should keep going. George Floyd didn't die. I know he didn't die as a martyr, but he died, and it's caused something, it's brought out something. So that's something. Effect, innit? Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? It's sad that he died, and we shouldn't use him as a martyr, but he died, I guess, for a reason. So let's take it into on board.
Power.
I feel like the element of Black Lives Matter shouldn't just be a trend, and it should carry on. Firstly, and secondly, I feel like invest, but not just money wise. I feel like invest in educating things that, again, that you brought up before in the episode, saying that because I didn't think I was good enough in a certain position I am, I can't speak on something, but your experience might help someone else say elevate in a certain way.